I believe that if we took a poll across America, across the working class in America, or potentially the world, what we'd find out is that a lot of people experience burnout. We get tired. We push and push and push towards the things that we want. We work jobs that have lengthy hours. And we always reach a point where it's like, gosh, dang it, I need to rest and rejuvenate. But the problem is most people don't know how to rejuvenate. They don't know how to get that feeling back where they can be motivated again. And so we push ourselves to the brink and then we quit. Peter Vexelman said, it's a really powerful quote. He said, if you're tired, learn to rest, not quit. Well, in today's episode, actually, Kris is teaching a group of our employees here how they can rejuvenate themselves so that they can continue to push for excellency without having to give up.
Hey, listen, it's great to see y'all guys. I'm excited to be here with you this morning. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I come in and I'm like, wow, I just get hit with like a bolt of lightning on what to talk about. Because every Monday morning, the opportunity to create some mentorship space for you is all about helping you grow. Because who here is engaged in their 5-year financial freedom game plan? Raise your hand if you're totally enrolled in your 5-year game plan for financial freedom. Say yes or yes.
Yes.
Awesome. So you all know what your game plan is, right? And the first part is you got to get good at this job, because this is what I would tell anyone on the planet, and most people couldn't hear it. You've got to have a way to make $100,000 more a year than you need, which means more than likely you're gonna have to go into sales, or you're gonna have to have some crazy high paid job opportunity out there. And that's for someone that just says, I wanna create it in a very, very short period of time. Because the reality is, does it take money to make money? Most of the time it does. They don't say whose money it has to be. And so sure, you want to get out there and find deals and raise money and do all this stuff, but you want to make sure that at the end of the day, there's a level of financial self-reliance, which means you've got to rely on yourself. True or false?
True.
Yeah, so I want you to have that financial self-reliance. I want you to feel and control your financial future. I'm going to tell you though, that there's a problem of constantly being in the game of greatness, right? Definition of nobility, better today than yesterday. What's the problem when every day is a new PB? When every day you're pushing and pushing and pushing? Can you sustain that? Can you hit new PBs every day, no matter what? Can you do that? No. How many of you think that eventually you're gonna get some burnout? Yeah, let me tell you about a little bit of burnout that I had this last week. And I think that if you're living your life right, you're gonna be able to identify with what I'm talking about. Some of you don't know, but last week we had our very, very first group of people come in, some of my highest net worth clients, into what's called the Kris Krohn Investor Club. Because I've got people out there that will invest in real estate with me, as you know. I got people part of Financial Genius that are learning about the game of money with me very aggressively. And then I've got this club that is designed to be $100,000 buy-in. We released it at $65,000 and we got 35 people in really quick in a 2-month period of time, and we just held our first meeting. Next one's in August, but we've got virtual meetings along the way. And I told this group that I wanted to create something for them that I've never seen in any mastermind before. Masterminds are cool, and I've been in some of them where they'll present investment opportunities. But one of the problems with being in the real estate space is that you can get yourself going down this rabbit hole where you think that the only way to make money is in real estate, which is why I did hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of deals before I started realizing that I had an incomplete financial map. And you guys have read Have It All, right? So you know that there's a more complete game plan. When you look at how wealthy people distribute their assets, they're making double-digit returns in real estate. They're earning triple and quadruple digit returns through business. And so my investment club premise is I said, I'm going to bring you guys dozens of opportunities a year. And that means that I have a private real estate fund that pays out close to 20% a year cash on cash. It means that I presented different franchises. It means that I presented 2 businesses that I've got my hand in that both have, one of them has $1 billion plus potential. One of them is multi-billion dollar plus potential that I gave them an opportunity on. And I gave them several more opportunities. Well, where my stress level definitely hit its max load is that all of these things that I presented, I have to put all sorts of securities in place, Reg A filings, Reg D filings, business syndication funds, venture funds, like 9 different financial instruments to do this legally the right way. You're not allowed to just go to people in the public and just raise funds, right? You get that. There's all sorts of rules, and it's easy that if you miss one of those rules, the consequence is either a 6 or 7 figure fine or jail time. So the stress of doing it the right way, I've been raising money for 15 plus years. And so when I had my SEC run in 2009 because someone stole money from me, I mean, just this morning, I was at the breakfast table with my kids, and we're reading in the Bible right now. And we're reading that story of Potiphar's wife going after Joseph. If you know that story, the dude was set for greatness, had all these dreams, brothers got jealous, threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery, gets hauled off into Egypt, and all of a sudden he rises in Potiphar's house as like the number one guy in charge of everything. And then his wife comes on him and he says no, and then she lies, and it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, wow, this reminds me of what happened in 2009. Someone did something wrong to me, and then to get back at me, they got me canned. Someone stole money from me, and then they made up a lawsuit, so I had to pay $1 million to defend myself. So I understand how important it is for playing at the level I am, that it has to be done right. The level of lawyers involved, the complexity, the compliance, the regulation, buy-in from my team, all these things, it wasn't small. So last week, I'm stressing. I'm meeting on Monday night at my house with these people, Tuesday and Wednesday, and I had a vision of how everything was gonna go. And in my mind, what I was doing is I was competing against Tony Robbins, because I paid $350,000, his being just one of, last year I was in 2 other masterminds. I paid money for these things, but no one is making the level and the number of offerings that I am. And we've aggregated this amazing group of people. And sure enough, by the end of the event, everyone went on camera and just said, this exceeded every expectation. This was so much better than I thought that it would be. I already got all my money's worth. And by the way, there's nothing that makes me happier than someone writing a $65,000 check and after 2 hours says, I got all my money's worth. Marianne was there as a client, like enjoying not being the MC. And by the end of the first day, you're like, I got how much value, did you say? $132,000 of value. And that was everyone's experience. So everyone was like, oh my gosh, the tax advice, the game planning, and the things that we did and the access to the diversification, it was everything I wanted it to be. It exceeded every expectation. But by the second day lunch, everyone's heading into lunch, and I literally get knocked down with a fever. Like, I don't get, Krohn doesn't get sick. I got slammed with a fever, complete fatigued, and I was just out of gas because I saw that I was at the light at the end of the tunnel and everything that I wanted was happening. But the level of lift and the stress I was carrying to get there was like, wow, that was a push. Biggest push that I've had business-wise ever in my entire life. Because what I just did is I opened up a whole new era. Like, you guys are days away from getting an updated video on what all those people thought. And I think that when people come into your programs at a higher level, which program should be your most exciting? The one at the bottom, the one in the middle, or the one at the top? What do you guys think? The one in the middle or the top? The more people pay, the more what? The more value they should get, right? So we delivered like 10x crazy value. I don't want to make up exaggerated numbers, but we create a level of value where people are like, this is exactly what I needed. And for me, it was fulfilling because I've waited 5 years for this move. Because I knew that my ecosystem had to mature enough for that offering to make sense. It had to be me aggregating a lot of people in the game of finance and real estate that have high enough net worths that they're interested in diversification and other things. And by the end of this year, we're gonna have 100 people in this club. By the end of next year, we're gonna have 250 people in this club. And we're gonna compete on the world stage as not just one of the biggest financial masterminds that people pay 100 grand to get into, but more importantly, people are gonna make crazy, crazy money with the kind of things I'm putting in front of them, because this is my first time taking all of my private investments and then making them available to a group of people. So all this was exciting, but all this led to some burnout. And it wasn't until Sunday night around 6 p.m. that all of a sudden I was like, okay, I finally feel ready for Monday. I got all my juju back. What did I have to do? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was on my butt for 4 days, right? One of those days I took the private jet to take my family to the Alamo, because for school day, last week we did California, or 2 weeks ago. This Thursday we're doing Flagstaff. I want to show them one of the largest meteor craters. Then we're going to go see the petrified forest for Geology Day. My dream was becoming wealthy enough so that my wife and I could take our children in and out in a single day to cool places in the world and just grow ourselves. So I'm living that life. So I had a day with my family that was rejuvenating. It wasn't stressful. It felt good to be able to have a little bit of break. But also just Saturday night, I had a bunch of friends come over and we had a chance to just chill. And my friends know me well enough that they're like, wow, Kris isn't he's in his own home and he seems to be pretty chill right now. And I'm like, yeah, this is called Kris Krohn rejuvenating from a really heavy lift, right? All sorts of self-nurturing. Going to the gym was a really important part of that. I had, we've got a great massage lady that comes, does a great job with that. Kris Krohn had some halo time, right? Little unplug. Bottom line is, after such a big lift, I had a strategy for overcoming that burnout. The first time I really started experiencing burnout was almost 20 years ago when I was on the phone doing your kind of job. And this is why I stop in here every single week, because I get you. I get the grind. I get, no matter how good or bad the leads are, getting on the phones. Raise your hand, honestly, those of you online, raise your hand if you ever face some level of burnout. Awesome. And that's real. This is something that we feel from time to time. And I want to just share with you a couple of strategies that I hope will help you, because I want you to get to burnout. If you get to burnout, what does it mean? It means that you're succeeding. Could also mean that you're trying, but it means that you're pushing. You're exerting effort. Now, do we value your effort or do we value your results? Yeah, we value your results. Don't ever tell me how hard you worked. If you just became the all-star here, but you're putting in 80-hour weeks, my expectation in 90 days is that you can achieve the same result with 60 hours. And 90 days later, I expect you to get the same result with 40 hours. Because I expect you, and this is the first thing I want to share, you have to expect yourself to get better. There are two paradigms. How many? Two. The first one is a fixed mindset, and I take notes on this. A fixed mindset says this: I work hard like this, and I achieve burnout there. That's a fixed mindset. If I put in this input, I'm going to get to burnout. That's a fixed mindset. It's a limited mindset because it says that every time I put in that amount of effort, I'm going to burn out. I used to live in that world. I used to get sick 15 years ago, every 6th week, like clockwork. And because that was my burnout schedule, work hard for 5 weeks and then take a week off. And I had to be sick to give myself permission to rest. Otherwise, I was go, 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 because I didn't have good balance in my life at that point. You have to graduate from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. To a what? Growth. And here's what a growth mindset means. It means that you get stronger, and over time, what was once heavy is now light. I'll never forget working with an individual here. I'll even drop their name because I really admire them. Name's Jaden. And Jaden was our first ever sales floor manager, and he was prior to that a team leader. And I remember that Jaden would work very, very closely with me. He was asking questions all the time, and what he was really expert at was diagnosing the process of his job. So every time he met a new avatar, hey, I talked to this high-powered corporate woman who is a warrior, and I didn't know how to talk to her. Hey, I met this Uber engineer, and I didn't know how to speak data to them. And so he would break apart each of these type of personas and their objections, and we'd have these long conversations, and he'd record them because he knew that if he could learn to talk to a certain rare type of individual, that if he could get through to them, and if he could learn it, he'd be able to do it every time. So he basically got to the point where he could diagnose just about every type of person, and our conversations became fewer and fewer, and he became an expert in how to talk to all these people. And I remember he was getting to the point where he was at first, doing $10,000 a week, and then he was doing $20,000 a week. And I remember when he got to about $25,000 a week. You can imagine his income, right? He's, if you're boarding a 6-week average of $25,000, he was making about $5,000 a week. So you can amortize that and making $250,000 a year. And he said, Kris, I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. I can't keep this up. And I said, brother, I get it. You're in burnout zone right now. But you need to understand this. This is the most important part of your growth cycle because you're at your hardest lift. You now need to not come off of the gas pedal. Don't hit the brakes. Now you need to sustain this for 3 weeks. He said, why? He says, because all of the effort to get to this point was to get to your breaking point. And if you'll stick with it for 3 weeks, 21 days, guess what you'll do? The burden is going to melt and you'll make $25,000 6-week average easy. I remember talking to him a month later, his 6-week average was $30,000 and he was feeling great. Sometimes we take the hard moments of life and we build a powerful story that will sabotage our future. You get to a burnout moment and you create a story and a fixed mindset that says, wow, if I have X number of weeks like this, or if I have to go through emotional garbage like that, or if I have to talk to people that are like this, then I'm going to go into burnout and then I'm going to literally fall apart and then I'm going to have to start back up again. I invite you to treat burnout no different than going to the gym. The purpose of going to the gym, to be clear, if you're trying to gain muscle, the purpose of going to the gym is to what? Starts with an F. Your job is to fail. Does everyone get that? Trent, did I fail at the gym this morning? 3 times I got to failure. And if you look at my chart, I reference what I did the last time I did that exercise a week before, and I'm either gonna pick more reps or more weight. So I was doing, I was on my second set, I was doing incline bench press with free weight dumbbells. And last week, I was doing 80s. I did 70 and then I did 80 pounds and I did 80 pounds. So I said, well, I started on 70 and then I graduated to 80. So now I'm gonna make my first set this week what? I'm gonna start at 80. I always take my second set, which is higher than my first, the next week, and I make that my first. And I did 10 reps. And then I said, great, now I'm gonna go for 90 on my second set. And on 90, I hadn't hit 90 on any week prior. So I was going for a PB. And I have rules, right? All these arbitrary rules. And one of them is I have to hit 10 reps and then I'm gonna drop my set and immediately do 15 more because the first 10 is for tearing the muscle. The next 15 is for building muscle density. So I grabbed my 90s and Trent, I don't know if you remember because we did so much. Do you remember where I dropped?
6.
I dropped at 6. I didn't make it to 10. I failed. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah. Now I teared appropriately because I was able to finish the rest of my workouts and I didn't injure myself. I tore the muscle the right way. I love failure. Everything that the world says is failure and victimhood, they don't understand that there's something more precious than an outcome. And it's the lesson that you learn of who you're becoming. You should strive to get to burnout and then ask this one question. I'd write it down. What am I learning about me? You should strive for burnout. You should strive in your relationship to literally be the best lover on the planet and get to a point where there are tears almost because you've taxed yourself. You've given so much. You've been so generous. And how many of you know what that breaking point feels like when you feel the tears, when you're like, I pushed so hard? Raise your hand if you know that one. I live to get there. And by the way, you can't get there very easily. You have to freaking push to a level you've never been before. I push in my relationships. I push in my relationship with God. I push as a parent. I push in my finances. I push in my health. I push in all these areas. And I wait to get to that breaking moment so that I can finally get what I want. What am I learning? So these are the lessons for today. Number 1, find a way to go beyond what you've done in the past because you're trying to get to burnout. Number 2, when you get there, ask what you're learning. Because if you can take home the right lesson instead of a victim response, then you're gonna grow, and that will lead to the 3rd step, making heavy things easy. You have to sustain. When you're at your breaking point, it is go time. This is the time when you're going to define whether you step into your greatness or whether you're gonna cower back to mediocrity. And then number 4, you do need to have a nurturing system. When you get to burnout, you got to take care of yourself. That commandment, love yourself, love your neighbor, love God, all those good things. What does it look like for you to nurture yourself? What does it look like for you to take care of yourself? For me, it can mean going and shooting guns. For me, it can be going out in nature. For me, it can be getting together and playing with friends. For me, it can be sexual intimacy. For me, it can be having a day with my kids. You need to have a list of go-tos, and then you got to enforce to make sure that you address and take care of yourself, because you're being a freak of nature that is pushing for burnout. You're pushing to literally fail so that you can learn and grow and make hard things easy. Does this make sense? So I'm sharing this with you because this week I want you to ask yourself, how did I do? And this is a sales arena, right? So I want you to ask yourself, where did you struggle last week and how can you be better this week? And you're like, yeah, but if I get better at that one thing and push, that might be burnout for me. Some of you, it might be, I need to put in some more hours. For some of you, it's, I need to spend more time on the phones. For some of you, it's, I need to learn how to keep people on the phones. For some of you, it's, I need to actually stop talking to the wrong people. For some of you, it's, I need to become a better coach. I'm enforcing a life-changing conversation. Or, wow, I remember when Kris taught me how to produce someone's financial future with a calculator and show them what they were on track for, and I haven't been doing that, so I'm gonna try that this week. Or my goal is to ask 4 questions every single day after getting on the phone and observing what I'm not doing well, and I'm gonna ask the best people I can. You should all diagnose, what would I do this week that will push me from last week? And I would also evaluate, how many sets did you have and how many small deals did you have? And you should be pushing for more in each of those. If you had 3 sets last week, challenge yourself. How do I get to 4? And if you had 5 small deals last week, how do I do 6? Because where you'll really step into 6 figures is when you reliably are crushing it on small deals and big deals. Not one or the other. Most of you here have a preference of one or the other. So your goal, what stretching looks like, is working on the area where you're weakest. That's what a strong person does. They look for feedback that says, help me understand what I'm not doing well enough. That takes a very strong person, because a weak person is scared of being vulnerable. So what they'll do is they'll surround themselves with people that won't ask them the hard questions. A smart person, a strong person will put themselves in the way of that vulnerability and say, what can I do better? So there's some ideas on what you guys can do to push this week. And my invitation is, ask yourself what it would look like to push to that point of burnout. Find out what you're learning. Stay there so you can take a weakness and make it strong. And anyone that's making really amazing money here, I'm telling you right now, they're already living some form of this. I'm just telling you to put a formula to it. And this is a formula that I use in my life. Last week was my best point of that level of stress that I'd carried in a long time. And I'm telling you right now, I feel real strong right now. I feel more ready for that next level. And I'm gonna reinforce everything that I learned from this last week. And I'm gonna continue on my journey like you are, of becoming my highest and best self. Because whatever isn't growing is, and we're here to grow. So this week, put it on yourself every day to make sure that you're growing. Don't be afraid to put pressure on yourself. Don't be afraid to say, I'm not going to bed tonight till there's a sale on the board. Don't be afraid to play the hot lava game and put everything on the line like you're gonna die. I play the hot lava game every single day. Hot lava game, you guys know that game? That's where you literally say, I will do this and I won't go to bed until, or I'm not gonna, play with friends, or I'm not gonna do that until whatever. And I force myself to become a better person myself. And if I don't like how long it's taking to achieve that level of result, then I start measuring how to do it quicker and faster. Well, guys, listen, I know our time is really brief this morning, but I'm glad I could connect. I hope the message hit home. And I invite you this week to find some type of practical application on what you can do this week. Because I'm just telling you that if you can live the adage of better today than yesterday, that it will lead you to burnout. And if you can see burnout as a good thing and learn from it, and then make hard things easy, 10 level ups from now, you're gonna be able to flex your pinky and be able to make crazy good money, but without putting in crazy hours, because hard things, once you master them, are designed to be really easy. And now you have your cash cow. And this is what I told everyone in the investment club. Everyone needs a cash cow. Whether it's a job or a business, you need a cash cow that, as long as you'll show up and do your part during your main 9 to 5 hours, you can get it to spin off hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you do, and you're delaying gratification for the next 5 years, and you're smart about diversifying all of your investments, 5 years from now, the world will look financially very different for you. So push to be your absolute very best selves. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.